Welcome back to another video. Sorry, I have to drink some water. Today's video, I'm going to be giving you some book recommendations. These are just a few, like 30. These are just some books that I've really enjoyed and that I think would be a lot of fun for other people. I don't normally do videos like this, but I feel like because of the time that we're currently living through, I could give you guys some ideas of other things to do and to keep you busy, and maybe you can share these with other people that you know who might be looking for book recommendations or might be looking for stuff to keep them busy. So all of these are physical books, but obviously you can get a lot of these on audiobook if that's something that you prefer. I like audiobooks a lot, and I personally use the Scribd service. It's $8.99 a month, but you do have the first month for free. And this is not an ad, by the way. I'm not sponsored. Like, nobody knows who I am. I have been using it for like a year now, and I do really personally enjoy it. The cool thing is, like, both me and my partner can use the same account like at the same time, and there's no problem with that. So that's a really good thing in my books. What a good pun. And also they do have a big selection of stuff. You can also have like ebooks on there. So that's kind of the thing that I like, is that there's both audio and ebooks on there, so that's another suggestion. And obviously for the first month for free, you can listen to like all of their books for free, basically. The first book that I have here is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. I don't know how to say this last name, sorry. One of those books that kind of tells you about a lot of people's perspective of the same thing, and you can't, like, even though bad things happen and you know, like, some of the characters made those bad things happen, nobody's the villain, because you get everyone's backstory kind of, and you kind of, like, for everything that they do and every action that they take, you understand where they're coming from. And I think that is such an interesting concept. Like, I love like villain backstories and things like that, because it really helps you understand what moves people and what gets people to do the things they do and to make the decisions that they do. So it's like one of those books where not a lot of things happen, but it's a lot of like character development and like very social, like in the sense that you understand people's interactions and things like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, this is a good idea. Next, Lyrebird by Cecilia Ahern. This was like a really beautiful read, and I thought that the characters that she gave us were like really interesting. Like, there's a team of journalists or documentary journalists who find this girl who can like imitate loads of sounds, and then she becomes famous, but then that kind of becomes really hard on her, and it's kind of like the whole guilt that they feel for putting her in that position and taking advantage of her and stuff like that. I'm actually maybe saying too much. Sorry if that was a spoiler. Very human, so I enjoyed this and I recommend it. Particularly because it's like an easy read, so I think that will be helpful. People don't want to be reading things that are hard to read right now. Another thing that I'm suggesting is the Hunger Games series. I only have this one here, but like all of them are good. I think everyone knows what the Hunger Games is about. It's about this fictional, I guess, society where all of these districts have to put forward two kids, a girl and a boy every year, who have to fight to the death in the capital for no reason, for the entertainment of the people of the capital and just to keep them in their place kind of thing. So it's like political, and there's like a dystopian society, which we love here. So yeah, it's a really good read if you've never read it. If you have, how about a good reread? I was rereading it last year, thought it was great. Next, we have The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellows. This is the first book in this series. There's like another one at least out already that I also have, but I think there's going to be more. So this takes place in the 1920s, and we follow, what's her name? Louisa, who is the maid, who becomes the maid of this family who are the Mitfords, and she kind of finds herself looking for the murderer of this nurse. Like, the girls who she looks after, who are the Mitford sisters, are really interested in finding the murderer, and they kind of like accidentally get sucked into this investigation kind of thing. It's really cool. I like era books, like books that are set in the past. like historical fiction, I guess you would call this, and also detective stuff. So this was just like right up my alley. I really enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy the second one as much, but I thought this one was really good. It was a fun time, and like the character building is really good because there was like times where I was like, oh my god, why are you doing that? But you're still rooting for them, and you're still kind of like tagging along to see what happens next. So I thought this was really good. Next, I have What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I listened to this on audiobook, and it was so great. The audiobook is great because we basically jump between the perspective of two boys, Arthur and Ben, and they have like a different actor for each person, and it was great because the way they talked was so like how I pictured the characters. So I thought the audiobook was really, really good. Basically, these two boys who like accidentally meet in the post office, and then they kind of have a thing for each other, and then they find each other, and then they start dating, and things are like, it's just, it does it work? Does it not work? I don't know. It's a great time. I really enjoyed it. Moving on to more murder mystery. I have here Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, just as an example, because like for me, any Agatha Christie is amazing. I love Agatha Christie. I love Poirot novels specifically. Anything by her is a great time. Who did it? We don't know until the very end, but it's just like such a great ride. So anything by Agatha Christie, really. And sticking to murder mysteries, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. I have read this one, but I haven't like continued with the series yet. This is on the heavier side. There is like trigger warning for like abuse, rape, stuff of that nature, but it's insanely good. Like it's very, very good. It's just very dark and very like adult. So it's not for a younger generation, but it's really, really good. And next is, sorry the lighting changed, but there's like a cloud in the way, I don't know. Next I have here is The High Mountains of Portugal by Jan Martel. This is the same person who wrote The Life of Pi, so it's the same author. Now, first of all, I like the title of this book because I too am in Portugal and I'm a Portuguese person, so I definitely support anything with my country's name on it. But I know this is not for everyone. It's like 3 stories that are sort of linked, but like not at all, kind of. And I thought they were funny. A lot of things were funny to me because like I know where the towns are and what they're talking about. So it's like funny that it used to be like that and now it's different. So each one of them is set in a different time period, way at the early like 1900s. Then like we move on till I think the 80s. I think that's the latest one, 70s, 80s. I liked the stories. I thought it was like a very thought-provoking book, but I know it's not for everyone. So maybe like tread carefully with this one. Birds Without Wings by Louis de Bernier. I love this book. This is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Like, I just find this such a beautiful book. It's set during the Ottoman Empire and at the time where Greeks and Turks are struggling with each other. And it's just like interesting because for so long these two peoples like lived together, and then something happened that like pulled them apart and made them fight each other, even though they were all like, it's interesting because of like the religious aspects of it, the traditional aspects of it. It's just like a beautiful book, and it's basically, you get a lot of people's perspectives of what is happening, and it really sets a picture of what was going on at the time. But you don't like follow one character, like you follow a few different characters from the same town, and then other characters like who are political people and stuff like that, just to set the scene, I think, better. But it's really like about how even though people are doing horrible things to each other, there's always like little acts of kindness because we're all people at the end of the day. And it's just like, it's a beautiful book. It's very, very beautiful. So I really love this and I recommend this to everyone. Keeping in the murder mysteries thing, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This is also called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, I think, in the States. This is by Stuart Turton, and this basically is like murder mystery in the like early 1900s England at the same time rolled into with time travel. Like, it's just a very cool scenario. This girl, Evelyn Hardcastle, has been murdered, and she, every day on that day, and they can only break the cycle if they save her, if they figure out who murdered her. But the thing is, every day they wake up in the body of a different character, and they, most of the time, don't remember what happened the rest of the time. So it's basically like a loop of that day. And it's like, I can't say too much more because like I will spoil it for you, but it's so good. I really enjoyed it. Next, another series that I'm really, really, really into, even though I've only read the first one, but I'm like very eager to get on with the rest of the series, is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This was so good. Again, kind of like Hunger Games in the sense that it's like political and like dystopian, and there's like feuds. Basically, you have two types of people, red blood or silver blood, and people with silver blood are the elite who possess godlike superpowers, and the red are like common people who do not possess superpowers. But then this girl shows up who does have superpowers and does have red blood, and then it's like everything just starts happening, and it's so great. Next, I would suggest both books by Nicola Yoon, Everything, Everything, and The Sun Is Also a Star. This isn't like a series. I think they're not related to each other. Everything, Everything is about this girl who has this illness that she's like allergic to everything. She is housebound, and she like has a nurse who looks after her and all this stuff. And then this boy moves into the house next door and kind of changes her life a little bit. From the medical perspective, this isn't incredibly written, but from the kind of, I don't know, I thought it was a good time. It's pretty light, and for people who don't know anything about being housebound, like, this might be a good place to start. The other book by her, The Sun Is Also a Star, is kind of more about like racism and classism, and just like Natasha and Daniel, who meet each other at a point where Natasha is going to be leaving because her family has been deported from the States. And yeah, she's kind of like, they kind of bump into each other and end up having this day together, and kind of changes a lot of their thoughts and stuff. So yeah. You can always also reread Harry Potter, which is what I'm currently doing. I am reading the Goblet of Fire at the moment. Another series that I'm really into, oh boy, is Caraval. I have both Caraval and Legendary here. I read these like on audio and also physically. They're really good books. I really enjoyed them. I liked Caraval a lot. It's like a fun world. Like Legendary was a little bit more, I think, predictable in the sense that like I already knew the world set up and kind of like to expect a lot of twists and turns, but it's good. Like, it's a good time. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of twists and turns. Basically, it's a little bit, it's magical, it's fantastical, there's like sister love, there's, I don't know, it's just a really, really good time. So also recommend this series. There's, it's a trilogy. The last one is also already out. It's called Finale, and they are on Scribd for audio. So what else? Dan Brown. The one I have here is The Lost Symbol, but anything by Dan Brown really is a good read. Like, it's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's like kind of like Agatha Christie. You know, it's always the same thing. You know to expect that there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and it's just going to be until the very last minute, like, stressful and suspenseful. But it's like, it takes you on a journey, and it's a good time while you're reading it. You're distracted. It's like always 500 pages or something. So like, I enjoy Dan Brown, to be honest. Like, I like it. I'm not like a snob reader. Like, I enjoy stuff that is easy to read sometimes. Another thing that I definitely recommend is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. She has other books that are also, I haven't read, but I've heard are good as well. This is very political. It's about this girl, Star, who is with her friend in a car, and her friend gets shot by the police. And she kind of starts a little bit of a revolution about that. And it's all based kind of on the movement of Black Lives Matter, and it's like a really powerful read. It's not like a fun read. It's definitely a powerful one. Another book where like nothing really happens, it's more like character building, Late in the Day by Tessa Hadley. I was not enjoying this for the first like good half of it, and then I was like, wow, this really is just about character development, and then I wish that I'd paid more attention at the beginning. So yeah, I also listened to this on audiobook. I think I wasn't really enjoying it while I was listening to it, but when it ended I was like, wow, that really made me think about things. So it's thought-provoking, so I enjoyed it. At the end of the day, like, it stuck with me, so I'm recommending it to you. Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but like from the perspective of the Red Queen. I love a good villain retelling. Like, I love a good villain backstory, Maleficent, that kind of thing. Loved this. It was great. You have a lot of the characters from Alice in Wonderland and you get to meet them and stuff, but it also brings a new layer of like why the Red Queen was the way she was, and it's just like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was good. I liked it. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McAdams. I think there's like 2 more books already out from her for the series. I'm not sure. I liked it. It was fun. Like, a lot of people had said bad things about it when I went into it, but then I was like, it's not that bad. Predictable to some extent. It's like it's YA. It's always kind of like, there's a lot of those normal topics that YA has. So, but there's an aspect of mystery to it. I don't know. I just love a good murder mystery, like detective case. So I enjoyed this. How I Live Now by Meg Rosoff. I loved this book. It is targeted at the wrong audience, or like marketed for the wrong audience, but it is a beautiful book. So basically, this is about this girl who goes to live with her family, like cousins and stuff, and like a war breaks out basically, and they have to kind of survive, and they're on their own because they got separated from their aunt, or like her aunt and the parents of her cousins. Yeah, it was like really moving and really beautiful, but something that I do think is important to note, I guess, or to expect, is that there is like a love relationship between her and her cousin, but that's the only thing that I would say is like iffy, I guess, about this book. But it does, like, I don't know, it's just so well written and it's really beautiful, and it's like a short read. So I thought this was like, I really, really enjoyed this. It was very moving. Other books that I think are very moving. Stuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is one of my favorite books, and it's one of my favorites because it's one of my friend's favorites, and she sent this copy to me annotated by her, and I love it and I cherish it so much. And every time I read it, I think about her, and I love the story. It's like a beautiful book as well. It's like simple and so like wholesome, you know? It just really fills your heart with joy. So I love this. It's beautiful. Love it. Yay. Great time. The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson. I loved this book. It's about 2 people who both have the same secret, kind of, and it's about transgender kids who, yeah, that's the secret. Not a secret, but yeah, it's from the perspective of 2 people who are experiencing being trans whilst also being in high school and stuff. I don't have like the right vocabulary. I'm sorry. Please, if you are like in the community, let me know what I'm saying wrong. But I loved this book. I thought it was like well written. It was well explained. It didn't, like, I don't know, you really understood, like felt for them and stuff. And it was beautiful. I don't know, I just really liked it. I really liked this book. So another series that is kind of dystopian and political and stuff is Scythe. This is the first book. This society, there is no more death. People just basically live forever because they have figured out how to do that. Nobody has to work necessarily unless they want to, because it's like they have guaranteed income regardless of whatever they want to do or not want to do. So people end up having jobs anyway, because otherwise they'd get bored. But it kind of explains how we would be, or how would we become, if mortality wasn't something that we worried about. So what happens is that they have these scythes, who are people who are chosen, and they are the ones who choose who has to die. And so they kill like X amount of people a year, and they do this because they need to, like, it's the natural order of things. So they need to keep the population numbers at a certain level, so they have to, like, it's a necessary job. And it just makes you think about like society and how mortality affects humanity and our behavior and our like way of life, I guess. So it's a really good series as well. Another one that I recommend is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott and all these other people. I'm sorry, I can't be bothered to read all of them. I don't have that much battery left on my camera. Sorry. Okay, so this is about these two people who have cystic fibrosis, and they fall in love, and they can't be next to each other because they can both die because of their illnesses. And I have heard from the people who have cystic fibrosis that this is like not a greatly accurate description of what CF is like. But I think that for people who don't know anything about it, it's like, I guess, something that can help them understand a little bit of what it's like to be chronically ill. So there were things in this that I related to. So although I think it does have some problems, I also think that it brings to normal, healthy people the reality of what it's like a little bit to live with chronic illness. So I understand that it does have problems, especially for people with CF, but it also does open a conversation at least. So I think that's a good thing. So that's why I'm recommending it. Next, and keeping in the chronic illness theme, Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I freaking loved this book, okay? I am so happy that I bought it. I listened to it on audiobook, and I still bought the copy because I just wanted to support her because this is such a great book. You know why? Because she has the same illness as me. She is like so fierce. She has the same tastes as me. She likes making lists. She likes like colorful things. She likes vintage outfits. Like, she's just me. The way that this is written is so good. It's like a romance. It's a little bit raunchy, okay? There's like some very R-rated things, but it's great. Like, it's so good to feel like represented and to have like a story that represents the way that I feel on a daily basis. Like, it like explains what it's like to live with fibromyalgia without like making it a big deal and dramatizing it too much and like romanticizing it to like, oh, I need this man to save me. Like, it's not about that at all. Like, it's about her romance with this person, but it also just happens that she has this illness. I don't know. I thought it was the perfect amount of like everything, and I just stand this book so much. Like, I really love it. I hope you all read it. Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, moving on to something else. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. It's about this boy who's autistic and who finds this dog murdered, and then he wants to find out who murdered him because he doesn't understand why you find the murderers of people but not the murderer of this dog. And that kind of leads him to discover a lot of things about his family and about like kind of the world, and he has to get out of his comfort zone, which is really difficult for him. And I enjoyed this. It was a good read, and it just was very, very endearing and very like wholesome as well. Frog Music by Emma Donoghue, another historical fiction one. This is set in like 1876 around in like San Francisco, and basically this girl who is a burlesque dancer, basically like somebody else joins their group, and like then stuff starts happening. I remember it vaguely because I did read it like a few years ago, but I really enjoyed it. Like, it is inspired by like a true crime that wasn't solved, and so there's like a little bit of crime, there's a little bit of like feminism. I don't know. It was just like, I thought it was a good time, so I'm recommending it now. Next, I have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. Hate to love kind of thing. It's this girl who's a siren and this prince who isn't, who's human, and I think it's like a Little Mermaid retelling kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it. It was a great read. The Wicked Deep by Shia Earnshaw. And this is about these 3 girls who were murdered in this city, who were witches, and basically they believe that every summer they come back to haunt the people of the town, and they take the bodies of 3 girls, and they will take 3 men or 3 boys to the sea and drown them because to like get revenge on the town. And It's very, very good. I really enjoyed it. Next, Perfectly Preventable Deaths by Deirdre Sullivan. I really liked this. It's very atmospheric. It's very like something to read in autumn, but you can just read it now. And if you're in Australia, it is almost autumn, so it is great. I did feel like the ending was a little bit like, what else? Like, I need more information. But it was like mysterious. It's a little bit like haunting. There's like a lot of, I don't know, it's just very atmospheric. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. And last but not least on my list is Truly Devious, which is another like EYA detective thing. Basically, this girl goes to this school. She gets a scholarship to this school where a murder happened that was never solved. And her project in her like life mission is to find out who the murderer is. And yeah, stuff starts happening. And we think that the murderer is back. And I know, I haven't read the next one in the series, but I can't wait. So that is everything that I have for you. It was a long ass video. I'm very sorry. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave it a like and a comment and consider subscribing to my channel if you have not done that already. It would mean so much to me. Consider becoming a member on Patreon or shopping my Etsy store, because those are 2 ways that you can help support me. And if you read any of these, let me know what you thought about them. That is everything that I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!